You know, when I look at my life, I really enjoy blue people. The Smurfs, the Blue Man Group, the Ara from Mass Effect, Nightcrawler, and even James P. Sullivan. But more specifically, these blue people. What is up, guys? It's Jimbo here, and welcome back to another video in which today we are exploring the world of Pandora. I want to tell you why Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is better than you think, and finding out whether this is just Far Cry Avatar or not. Frontiers of Pandora is set between the events of the Hallelujah Mountains with, this guy. Start of the game has you in this RDA facility as a displaced Na'vi. You are part of the Serentu clan. You were taken from there when you were very young, and as the events of the Hallelujah Mountains are going on, the base gets attacked, and then ultimately everyone's going to leave, and you end up in a sleep chamber for another 10 years or so. Time passes, the RDA come back to the planet, and then we go on from there. You escape and you step into the world of Pandora. The main antagonist of the game is John Mercer. He basically is trying to look menacing, but he'll never be this guy from the movies. But he kind of just bounces until the end of the game where he's apparent, but you'll mainly be fighting RDA throughout the main quest. It's essentially the RDA versus the Resistance, but that would be a kind of a slight disservice to the other story threads that are told throughout the game. The main quest is a little bit lackluster and it wraps up rather quickly, but that isn't where the main focus of the story is. There's a strong narrative through line of identity, you being the Na'vi that were plucked from your clan and taken from your own world, and basically you've been brought up as an RDA and you are trying to figure out what it means to be a Na'vi. And then doing so, you will meet other clans within the game. Each clan will have their own reaction to you, but every time the story focuses on the Na'vi, and it was great. I was invested all the time. The performances and the voice acting from all of the different characters and clans within the game are amazing. They all have their own specific agendas and things that they need you to do in order for them to join the Resistance and to fight back against the RDA. And there are a lot of strong, emotional, impactful moments throughout the story when anything is related to the Na'vi. This is the strong point, and this is where I spend a lot of my time and where you will spend a lot of the time during the game. The end of the game kind of wraps up rather quickly without even diving into the aftermath of what happens at the end of the game, which is a little bit frustrating, which is what I would have liked to see. But on the whole, I enjoyed the story despite its flaws. Despite the narrative shortcomings, the main bulk of time that you will be spent in Frontiers of Pandora is in the open world. I make no exaggeration when I say Frontiers of Pandora is one of the best looking open worlds I've played ever. Period. It is absolutely sensational. When I first stepped out into the world in the opening mission, I had to stop not because I was forced to or because the game wanted me to look around. No, I stopped because it was jaw-dropping. I don't know how Massive have done this. I literally turned into an E3 trailer with bot walking all around, and it's completely down to what Massive have done in order to make this so dense, filled with colorful plant life and amazing things to go and look at, the different plants that you can interact with as part of one of the main core mechanics of the game. And I had genuine moments where I was blown away. Each area of the world is different. You start off in a dense forest jungle area, then you move into these wide open plains. There's these big massive tree forests, these rocky formations, and there's even the hanging mountains that are just floating in the sky. And the thing that's even crazier about all of this is during the day-night cycle, when you go into the nighttime of Pandora, the bioluminescent plants light up, the entire world kind of changes its tone and feels so alive when you're in it and so immersed. Feels like I'm overselling this, but you need to experience this for yourself to see what I am talking about. It's so well crafted, and my hats go off to Massive when talking about this specific aspect of the game. Take, for example, a mission where you head up to get an Ikran. The views that you have on the way up are exactly like the movies. It feels the exact same. And speaking of the Ikran, as soon as you get hold of one, you can jump off the top of these massive mountains and call the Ikran and fly around the entire environment, experiencing the world from the air. That just amplifies it all. I have so many screenshots that I've taken of the game. It is top notch. There is even a really incredible dire horse section where you experience the whole upper plains region. It's just awesome. The open world is amazing. Navigating the world as well is really easy. Climbing, running, going over the treetops, and getting from point A to point B is really fun. Even with combat, moving around, you never feel kind of like you are wrestling your character. You feel in control all the time, and that is something that leads into the feeling of being a Na'vi, which I think a lot of fans will enjoy. Experiencing and being immersed in the world is the game's biggest selling point. It has to be seen for yourself. I had maybe 3 or 4 times where my frames dropped throughout my entire playthrough, and that was because of the sheer amount of stuff that was on my screen. And this feels like a genuinely next-gen experience. Out of all of the games I've played this year, it feels next-gen in approach and in display. I would love to hear back from some console players to see how it plays on there. I cannot rave enough about the world of Pandora that Massive has built. Whilst being in the world though, you will of course engage in Frontiers combat, which to me is my least favorite part of the game for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is there are lots of tools and ways to engage in combat, mounted in the air, mounted on horseback, long and short range bow options, even some RDA equipment such as shotguns and stun grenades and an AR that you get to use. But the issue is there isn't enough challenge or variety in combat encounters to really make me love it more. You will mostly fight a lot of amp suits or even humans, and I do have one gripe about the human visual aids. They are a lot smaller enemies. They blend in quite well, so it's hard to actually see them, especially, you know, when you're a 9-foot tall blue person. And most of the combat will consist of outpost clearing, going on hunts for specific animals that you need to get to be able to upgrade your gear, and then obviously the main combat loop of the campaign missions that you will take part in. Whether it's stealth or going loud, you have a couple of options available to you, but this game commits the biggest cardinal sin, and that is an awful detection system. You know, when you kill one person and the entire base knows your exact location, bank details, what you had for lunch that day, and who your next of kin is, it's that type of detection which is frustrating when it comes to combat, especially when you're trying to be stealthy, because there's rewards for being stealthy, and if you miss one shot and the entire base knows where you are, it is so annoying, and this happens in so many games. So it's not exactly Frontier of Pandora's fault, but it's here, so I have to criticize it. If we are strictly talking about outposts and open world activities where combat is involved, after the 10th to 12th hour or so, the only real upgrade that you get to enemies is slightly more armor, some more airships, and some higher level enemies. Say you're level 16, the enemies will be level 18. This is frustrating because every tool that you have access to sounds amazing, has great visual and audio feedback, and also it gives you options to engage in multiple different playstyles. You can use a spear, you can use traps to set things up, but I just wish there was more enemy variety and more challenge outside of the main set pieces, because when you're actually doing some of the main quests, there are a lot of amazing situations and level designs that you'll go around that I really enjoyed, especially towards the end of the game. Even though the narrative was lacking, the level design at the end of the game was really good. Though outposts are maybe 70% of your open world gameplay, mixed in with that is side quests, which are nothing to scoff at. They're fully voice acted, they tell some pretty neat stories as well, but I can't stress this enough, that this game does not bombard you with icons for you to go and see like other Ubisoft titles. You'll run into these quests in the open world as you are just moving around it, instead of it being, oh, I need to go to this icon to clear it off the map, and then there's also, oh, I need to go clear this outpost to get my next skill point or clear the objective. It's not like that at all. I always enjoyed engaging in the combat, even if I think it was a little bit limited. I also enjoyed engaging in the side quests in the open world, the hunting and the different aspects that you can just interact with in the open world. I do feel this could be improved in maybe a future DLC or in an update or maybe in a second game. But I do want to stress this. I enjoyed engaging with the combat because I only spent around 20 hours with this game. It wasn't as grating to if I had to have done this same loop for maybe 40 to 50 hours like it does happen in some of the other games that Ubisoft has made, which is why I want to talk about the term Far Cry Avatar. This has been attached to the game, and whilst I can see why it's an open world RPG light with FPS, loads of activities to do, like these list of games. Bruh. I think this differs though, because it doesn't bombard you from the start. You are not filled with hundreds of icons, points of interest, and a quest list reeling off your screen as soon as you start the game with multiple different tabs. There's only 3 tabs that you'll ever engage with, which is the quest tab, the exploration tab, and then clan favors. And literally clan favors is just you handing in maybe some like mushrooms or some sweet fruit and stuff, and you can use that to trade in to get gear in there. It's not even a requirement, it just happens as you're naturally playing as long as you go up to the contribution basket. So pretty cool thing to add in. But the point I'm trying to make is that none of it breaks the immersion. It allows you to stay focused in the game and within the world, and I think that is what Massive have gone for here. Even the waypoint system, there isn't a glowing thing in the sky. There's a tiny marker on your indicator, and even the main quest icon is just a small glow that you can actually look at using your Navi sense that allows you to just focus on where you need to go, but it's not intrusive. It's not there all the time. As long as you're going in the right direction, whatever you find on the way, you will find. It's minimal in approach, but like grand in scale, which means you're not overwhelmed from what you need to do minute 1 in the game, and that helps for immersion, which is not apparent in other Far Cry games or Ubisoft games that I've played previously. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is a great game all around. It does one thing crazily well, and it does help bring up the other lower areas. But if you're a fan of the films, you will 100% love this game. Taming an Ikran, flying around the world, running through lush environments and taking it all in, and the ultimate feeling like a Navi is the biggest feeling I had coming away from this game. The sad part about all of this, though, when it comes to Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, is 1 part marketing and 2 part right place, wrong time. After all of the stellar titles that we've had this year, I think this game has come out at a part of the year where a lot of gamers are burnt out on what to play, as we've had so much stuff. Add to the fact that Ubisoft didn't seem to give this a marketing push like at all, as I heard about 1 preview event last month and then nothing until the game launched, and there still isn't that much promotion on the game either, apart from like some YouTube ads here and there. But usually you see it everywhere with these massive games that Ubisoft push out. And on top of that, it launched on December 7th, which of course was the Game Awards. There was another game that launched that day. Oh yeah, and there was also the Dumpster Fire that launched as well that same day. This one. This game has dominated the news cycle, meaning Avatar has kind of been pushed to the wayside and just kind of launched. And if it had released maybe after the holiday period, maybe in late January, maybe it would have been a different story, but I still enjoyed the game and I recommend people go and play it. I do recommend Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, especially if you're a fan of the movies. It will tick every single box of every fantasy you've had. And I also recommend this if you want to have one of those games like in between games before one of the big launches happened and to play over the holidays. I obviously won't need to play it now because I have no games to play.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
But it's a quality experience, and I may need to come back for the DLC drop in a few months' time. And I do think it's better than some of the review scores that it has, leaving it at like a 7 out of 10. I think there's a lot more here, and maybe you'll engage with the combat more than I did. You'll enjoy some of the aspects of it more than I did. But I do still think that the world in this game is just, I can't stop talking about it. And if I talk about it any longer, this video is going to be like 30 minutes long. So I'm going to wrap it up here. That's my review for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Have you enjoyed this video? Let me know down in the comment section. Are you going to be picking up the game? Let me know in the comment section. Leave a like on it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on the notification bell as always. And this has been It's Jimbo. And I'll see you guys next time.